1, 2, 1, 2, check 1, 2, check 1, 2. Welcome to the Catalyst Podcast. My name is Jason. You can find us at Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Thread. A catalyst has the power to create change, and we hope that's what this podcast will do. We're going to talk about the catalyst, that turning point, the journey, the lesson, and beyond. It's raw, real, and unedited. Welcome to episode 11. All right. So when we last left off, we were talking about my father's wife and how she cut me off of my dad and supposedly raised money for me, and I never saw it. That happened sometime around July of 2019. But every week it would be chemo a week, Neupogen shots a week, and then off. I was eating as best I could. I was exercising almost every single day. If I wasn't in the gym, I was walking. If I wasn't walking, I was in the gym. 5:30 in the morning. Became 5:20. Became 5 o'clock. That's when I would get up, and that's when I would do my work. It was pretty insane. July became August. August became September. I was coming near the end of this treatment. My last treatment, I was coming in on a Monday. We're getting ready to. And at that time, there was a hurricane or a tropical storm that was off the coast of South Florida. And no one called me to let me know if I was going to be canceled or not. I even called and asked. I go, with this storm, will I be able to get in? Yeah, no problem. So I prepared my family, and I get to the hospital, and I'm sitting there. Finally, somebody comes down and said, there's no beds because the storm, everybody has to stay. And so unoccupied beds are now occupied by staff. Nobody was going to tell me this. Nobody's going to let me know. I was like, come on, this is crazy. So I had to go home. I had to wait. And I got in on a Wednesday, late Wednesday. I was able to get myself in there and get my process started. So that means I'd be leaving on a Sunday or Monday. And I just remember I had such an amazing routine. When I was in the chemo, I had resistance bands. I would do stuff with the resistance bands. I would do squat thrusts. Then I would walk. I would do some walking. So I'd take the little holder with the chemo and walk around. And the way the floor was, the wing was, the oncology wing, it kind of went to a square, but at the end there was like a little outpost. So every time I went to one of those outpost areas, I would do squat thrust. So I've been doing this now since May. And every time I think I brought this up already. I would walk by this one doctor's office. And finally, as I would go to the end, do my squat thrust, and go. Sometimes I would go around once, sometimes twice. The longer I was there, I was going multiple times. And finally, she kind of came to me and she goes, let me ask you a question. What are you doing here? I go, what do you mean, what am I doing here? She goes, like, what are you doing here? I go, well, see this thing that's connected to my arm here? Yeah, I'm going and taking chemo. I'm here every week. I think I've seen you multiple times. She goes, yeah, no, I understand that, but you're doing squat thrust. This is like your 8th lap. Like, what are you doing here? I go, I'm trying to get better. I go, there's not one patient that I have that is anything like you. She goes, you're different. And I go, I'm absolutely selfish and refuse to die. And we would continue to strike up conversations as time went on, but especially on this last time I was there. We really got to. She came and visited me, and it was really great. It was exciting. We're gonna see at the end of this in a couple of weeks if I'm cancer free or not. And so, after being there for May, 5 months, you really get to know people, get to understand them. Like the cafeteria people who never got my meal right. But they tried. They sure tried. To the very, very last day, it was really incredible because the staff that was there and that was working with me, when they first met me, and then as I progressed, and they saw the changes and things that I would do. I remember, when the second time I went in for chemo, I was told by the head nurse there, she was like, when you came in, we didn't think you were going to make it. And I reminded her of that when we were sitting there during that week. I go, do you remember that second round of chemo? She goes, no, I remember it well. I remember the first round. And it was not good. How you were upright, standing, how you were able to get through with all the things that were going on with you was incredible. And to see the turnaround is absolutely amazing. It was you create this connection and bond with these people. I was closer to them than I was to my wife at the time. I know I could speak to them about anything, talk with them about anything. September was a milestone. This was going to be hopefully the end. And I was looking forward to that. I was working super hard. Now, at work, it was an absolute nightmare. An absolute nightmare. While I was gone, there was a new training class that came in. And what they hired was less than to be desired. And there was a key figurehead person who kind of like took over the floor and had a sidekick who he could manipulate and have, direct and incite things as time went on. And no matter what I said to the people who were above me, no matter how many times I talked to them about it, I even asked the request for therapy. It was always me. It was never the people. So, for example, when I first came back, I introduced myself again because I went to that class. I introduced myself again and shook hands with everybody, and gave everybody a high five and gave you a nickname and all this kind of stuff, just being me. And the next day I come in and there was one girl who just got an attitude. It might have been two or 3 days later. And she goes, it's like, what's wrong with you? And just started mouthing off. And I'm like, oh, okay. And like loud in front of everybody. So I went to the site director and talked. No, I think he was there. He actually saw it happen. And he pulled her into the office, and the woman said she was upset because the last 2 days, the first day I gave her a high five, and then yesterday I didn't. So she was upset about that. these were the people. Yeah, these were the kind of people I was dealing with. Um, an HR person who every time I came back, the lights would be out on the call center floor. I was like, why are the lights always out? Why are we allowing this to happen? And I go to turn the lights on, and the HR guy was on the floor. So I go, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, it clearly says lights are to be on during business hours. So I'm turning the lights on. He's like, I think you need to talk to the site director about that. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to ask permission to turn on lights in a business. Listen, I'm not saying that I wasn't a cause of some issues, but a lot of the stuff that was going on there was pretty ridiculous. And, I was in heaven when I was going through chemo. So I didn't have to deal with it. And then I would come back and it would be like, oh, I can't wait to get back in to get more chemo in me. It was, between that, going on at home, and now my dad's wife, him and his health, and my mom. It's, oh my God. It kept piling up, but I stayed focused. I stayed focused on the task at hand, which was getting better, and it was getting harder and harder as things were piling up. And I know we've all been there. We've all been there, but I stayed with my routines. Even when I didn't want to get up, I got up. Even when I was feeling ill or getting dizzy or lightheaded, I would still do it. These places, working out would be my sanctuary. Being in the hospital would be my sanctuary from all of it. And so we finally get to that last day. And this day, my wife at the time decided to come up and glam herself up, because really it was about her. It wasn't about my journey and me completing my cancer treatment. It was about her. So she was all dolled up, looking great, saying, "Oh yes, it's been a struggle for all of us." But the staff that last day, everybody, each one of the shifts, just came by and we talked, and I said thank you, and we laughed, and we talked about some of the people who else were on the floor that are no longer here, and they were just so wonderful and so amazing, and I'm so appreciative to each and every one of them. And I remember one of the last things, it was my lunchtime, and they brought me, because I was straight keto, like hard keto. Like I was like no bones about it. And they brought me two Jupiter donuts from here in Florida. And Jupiter donuts are amazing. Those handcrafted gourmet kind of delectables. And I still have the paper plates that they gave me, with it saying "Happy last day of chemo, keto break." Congratulations from the whole staff. It was really touching. It was really sweet. And I appreciated everything that happened there. So in episode 12, we'll talk a little bit more about it. But right now, you're listening to the Catalyst Podcast. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Thread. Catalyst has the power to create change. We hope that's exactly what this podcast will do. It's raw, it's real, it's unedited. And I look forward to hearing you or speaking with you. I hope to hear from you guys soon. Yeah, reach out to me. That'd be great. But I would also look forward to speaking with you for episode 12. Go be great.